Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dr. McDougall's live webinar where he will take questions from the audience. We are broadcasting live. Dr. McDougall is very kind to do these webinars free of charge, and I am very excited. We have many questions today. We won't be able to cover all of them, but we'll do our best, and of course, in another webinar, we will include the questions. Dr. McDougall, thank you for being here today, and I know you have a lot of exciting things to share with us.
Well, thank you, Gustavo. I'll tell you, I just got back from a very exciting trip, and I think I should start by talking about that. Mary and I were on Kauai on the 11th, so that was about 4 days ago. I gave a talk for the Kauai Vegetarian Society. And then the reason we were there is we were there to make plans for our upcoming trip. And I'm going to invite Mary in just a second to have her tell a little bit about the trip that we're doing. So we stayed on Kauai at the Sheraton for a couple of days, and we're going to share that with you. And then I went over to Oahu and talked to Senator Mike Gabert, who's one of the senators there, about some things that we can do to help, the children of Hawaii get better school lunches, and to see if we can help maybe get a doctor education law passed in Hawaii like we have in California, SB 380, which by law requires doctors to learn what human beings eat. So we worked on that. And I also had a chance to talk at Tripler Army Medical Center yesterday morning. And that was amazing what a good reception I got from the doctors and dietitians there. I think things have changed. I think things that people are becoming aware, even the medical community is becoming aware. They just don't know what to do now. They don't know, now that they're just starting to see why people are sick from food poisoning, and a few people are starting to understand that they can solve the problem by following a very simple traditional diet of rice, corn, potatoes, and so on. But it was amazing the response I got. I even got some emails back from physicians and other members that they said, you just shouldn't have just been at morning rounds. You should have been at grand rounds, and all the people at Tripler should have had a chance to hear you. And I feel the same way. I mean, I really wish I could share this. There's John Burns School of Medicine over there that I'd like to be able to talk to too. It just, for whatever reasons, we go over 1,000 of them. Doctors don't seem to think it's important to know what human beings eat. And they don't seem to think it's important, or don't know the importance of the food and how to cure all their common diseases, and they have no motivation to learn. But I'm going to stop there. I want to invite Mary in. The reason I have another chair here, Mary, would you come on in and talk a little bit about the trip? Some of you,
hi, Gustavo.
all of you should know Mary McDougall. And
hello, everybody. Hello, Mary. This is Dr. McDougall's wife, Mary McDougall. Thank you.
And actually, she's the co-founder of the McDougall program, and the person who drugged me all the way to Kauai.
I made him go with me.
I'm going to show you some pictures she took on her iPhone. If I can get them up here, here we go. Let me show you some of the things. This, you can imagine what an interesting 4 days it's been for us.
Well, we like to go ahead of time so that we can see what the place is like.
Right.
This is such a beautiful resort, right on a gorgeous beach with, waves that just, you can keep your window open and listen to the waves. All the rooms are ocean front.
In other words, they all have this view right here.
They all have this view.
There's not ocean view rooms. They're all ocean front rooms. In other words, you're right looking out on the ocean. Can you see the pictures, Gustavo?
Yes, I can see the pictures. Yes.
So that's the rooms that everybody's going to have.
Those are beautiful.
And this is the beach. We took that picture. You can recognize those people.
Oh, yes, I think I can.
Well, anyway, that was from about 3 days ago.
Wonderful. Oh, wow.
And what is this, Mary?
This is the beachfront pool.
And
then there's a few rooms that look out over the pool and the ocean.
And the ocean. Every room is.
And they are, look at this guy playing in the waves.
Wishing I had my grandsons with me doing some.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is.
It was good to get back in the ocean. Let me tell you, when you get away from it, the smells and the feel of the ocean, you don't realize how much you miss it.
Oh,
It is one of the most relaxing.
it smells so good. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, let me show you. When we were there for a day and a half, they made some of the dishes just to impress us as to what they were going to serve. Some of the viewers now have been on McDougall adventure trips with us. We've done them for 23 years. And this one, here's some of the foods they made.
Just really creative and really delicious.
Oh, that is making me so hungry.
That's ramen noodle
The
soup.
ramen noodle soup is so good.
They actually served it to us while we're there. And this is the tofu dish off to the left. And
Yes.
the papayas.
Yeah, the broiled papayas.
Oh, wow.
And those were, I'll go back one. The eggplant,
Oh, yes, the eggplant. Mm.
baby eggplant.
And
What are those?
those are like a tamale. They're made,
Oh.
In a banana leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
They call them laulaus. Oh, it was really well done, and I know they're going to do the same thing.
Well, when is the trip, Mary?
The trip starts January 30th and ends on February 6th.
I gotta show you that picture again.
Yes, look at those happy couple.
Well, for 44 years, we started in Hawaii. Many people know that we started, we started our lives in Hawaii. Mary and I did. So we're
Very good. Well, thank you for showing us.
And the one reason I wanted people to know about the trip is because this is the only time we are going to go to Kauai.
or Hawaii. We're probably not going
We're
back.
probably not going back to Hawaii.
We've been there 3 times in
And
the
so-
last 3 years. So anybody who's interested in coming on the trip with us, what's the date?
January 30th to February 6th.
Yes, and that people can sign up for that on your website, drmcdougall.com, right?
That's
Right.
correct.
And we have not very many rooms left, but we'd love to have people come. It's a McDougall adventure trip where you get to eat. You don't have to worry about what you eat. All the food is McDougall food,
And it's a fun trip.
and we
We're
also
going
have
zip lining, we're going snorkeling, we're going down
might see some whales.
inner tubes down flumes, the old irrigation flumes, and we're going kayaking.
Uh-huh.
So
Wow. Oh, that is so fun.
Or you can just sit and relax and have a good time.
Right, right.
That's what Mary and I have been doing the last 4 days. Just like 10 hours ago, we got back.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. And Dr. McDougall, and you speak during that trip, like maybe once a week, once a day or something like that?
Mary and I are there the whole time. We get to know people. I would say this trip so far, probably half to 2/3 of the people are people we've traveled with before.
Yeah, yeah.
And usually on trips to Hawaii, about half the people are people who've traveled with us before, and half are new friends, people we meet new. But this, I'm pretty sure it's going to be our last trip to Hawaii. So if you want to go to Hawaii with the
Oh,
McDougall,
this is your chance then.
I think this is it. We're going to Alaska in June. We've got an adventure trip that's all sold out, and
Okay.
the Kauai is still open, and so we wanted to share with people. We'll share some other things next week at the webinar with people.
Yes, next week maybe we can have a video for everybody to see.
Yeah.
About the thing.
Yeah.
And anyway, just go to the website, drmcdougall.com, and any of you who've been on McDougall adventure trips, you know what you're in for, and we'd like to invite you to come along.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so Mary's off. I'm here. Be happy to get questions. And I just want to tell you what an amazing experience it was to talk at Tripler Army Medical Center. I was there in 1972 when I was an intern in Honolulu. I was at one of the rotations I did was at Tripler. The reception I got yesterday morning was amazing. I really think we've turned a corner as far as physicians caring and understanding about why people are sick. I told them, in fact, this is an Army Medical Center, Veterans Center, and I had a chance, and I told them I was delivering kind of a low blow to them, but I said I feel afraid. I feel sorry for the troops we have, and afraid for our homeland, because our military men and women are unhealthy. They're overweight. Over half of them are overweight. They're sick, just like the rest of Americans. And these are the men and women who are defending our country. And I told the people at Tripler, a whole bunch of a few, really many very important people. I said, you as people of our military should be clamoring to find out how to make our soldiers strong. And I showed them the slide that I show often of the gladiators, and how gladiators were known as the barley men, and they had a starch-based diet. And then I showed them the pictures of the Kenyans. I understand there was a marathon in Chicago just last week, and the top places were taken by Kenyans who live on corn. And I told these military doctors and dietitians, I said, we should be giving our men and women who are defending us and bringing our causes around the world, we should be feeding them the diet of a gladiator, so they'd be that strong. And we should feed them the diet of a marathon winner like the Kenyans, so that they can endure. But unfortunately, the military, all phases of the military, because we have the dairy and the meat industry to guide them on what to eat. The military is sick and overweight, and it could be different. And it really has to be different.
Well, I think the change is always slow, but what you said is true. We really are turning a corner, I believe.
We are.
And we're excited to be there. And I hope that everybody here in Skull and will join us in this army to get the message out. So invite everybody you can to these webinars.
Yeah, invite if you know somebody who needs help, and or somebody who can deliver the message. Everybody needs it, whether you're whatever phase of life you're in.
Well, should we jump into the questions then?
Let's do that.
All right. I have someone who's asking, and I've actually, it's more than one person, but this is the how it's condensed. Children at about 12, 13 years old, especially boys, that are developing breasts and excessive weight, and doctors want to prescribe medicine and even surgery. So what is the mother or fathers going to do about that?
Well, the reason the kids are fat and sick is because of the food. I showed you the poolside pictures a few minutes ago of the pools at the Kauai Sheraton. I should have, but I wouldn't, because Mary wouldn't let me, and it would be violating privacy if I did do it. There was a young boy there. He must have been 12 to 14 years old. Not only was he fat, he had a fat apron, a layer of fat that was so large sticking up over his bathing suit that it actually hung over his genitals. And I thought that, that poor kid. And, it's from the food. And the kids, they mature early. Little boys, they mature at 11, 12 years old, when they're supposed to start getting facial hair and development of their genitals around 16, 17, 18 years old. Little girls, they're maturing at 10, 11 years old. In fact, half of the black girls in the U.S. Go through puberty at age 8. Let me say that again. Half of black girls go through puberty. They could develop breast buds and pubic hair at age 8. And we see this. You can go to my website. You can see the research that's done. The children are maturing earlier, which is causing havoc in the schools, embarrassment to the kids, all kinds of problems. So this child, this boy that you're talking about, who has breast development, it's from the food, and also from being overweight. Secondarily, the body fat makes estrogens, develops breast buds. All kinds of sex hormones are made as a consequence directly of the food and the contaminants in the food and the resulting body fat, and that it can all be fixed. It can be prevented, and all parents should care. The school system should care. The U.S. government should care. We shouldn't allow this to happen to people. Once the kids are in trouble, even little girls, when they start their sexual maturity early, this can be stopped by changing the diet. The little girl will lose the weight. Her sexual maturation will be delayed as it should be. She'll mature at 16, 17, 18 years old when it's time to start thinking about having a family, not at 10 or 11 or 12 years old. So these concerned parents, they need to change the children's diet.
What would you say the number one thing? You know, it would be sometimes hard for a child to take out of their diet everything at one time. I mean, what would you say if you had to put them in priority?
No, Gustavo, I can't do that.
Okay.
Because, you know, which is worse, eating ice cream or chicken? Right. Cheese sandwich or a slab of roast beef. I mean, all of these things are
equally
I call food poisons. And to bargain with a kid and say, well, you know, as many people do with their parents, they bargain. They say, well, I'm going to give up beef. Well, you know, beef is 50% fat. They say, well, I'm going to eat chicken. Well, chicken's 50% fat. Beef and chicken are made of muscle and fat. They have no dietary fiber. They have no carbohydrate. They're all highly contaminated because they're high on the food chain. So it's a bargaining chip that people shouldn't get into. Nor should they start thinking, well, I'm going to skin the chicken and that's going to be healthy. It's not going to give the family or anybody else the health they need. So let me answer the question, because we need to get on to another one. What the kids need to be is they need to be fed things they already enjoy, like pasta and marinara sauce, bean burritos, ramen soup that we just showed you would be something kids really love.
Right. Okay.
All kinds of things the children already enjoy, or at least they should have been exposed to it. But I realize in modern day families with mom and dad both working and eating the school lunch program, and the kids eating at the local restaurants, maybe some of them haven't been exposed to real food. But anyway, that's what.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Someone has asked a question about yeast infections. Is that something that can be fixed with changing to a starch diet, or do you actually need prescription medicine?
Well, Gustavo, I get that question, and what I first have to ask is what kind of yeast infection are they talking about? Sometimes people think that they get candida or systemic yeast infections, and they say that they're going to treat it by getting all the carbohydrate out of their diet. This is a nonsense idea. People don't get systemic yeast infections unless they're really sick, like they have cancer or they're on chemotherapy. But what this person is probably asking is about a vaginal yeast infection. And vaginal yeast infections are usually treated by over-the-counter antifungal creams. But you ask, well, why does a woman get a vaginal yeast infection? And it's because she's not healthy in most cases, because she's eating an unhealthy diet. As a result, she becomes pre-diabetic. Half the people, it was just reported a few weeks ago, that half of Americans are pre-diabetic, just like half of Chinese are pre-diabetic. So when you become, and 12 to 14% of people have frank diabetes. So when you become diabetic or pre-diabetic, you're set up to grow fungal infections, including yeast infections. So the answer for, and I know yeast infections are common. After all, they have over-the-counter creams that you can buy. And when I was a practicing general practitioner, this was an everyday thing that I saw in my practice. This is not normal. This is not natural. This is a consequence of being unhealthy. You can call it prediabetes. One manifestation of prediabetes, the fungi love to grow, and including in the vaginal area, any moist areas like under the armpits or between the legs, and losing the weight's part of it. Part of curing the prediabetes and the diabetes, and just changing the diet, as we've talked about so often, is how you cure type 2 diabetes. And all that, by the way, just for references on my website. You can look under hot topics and you can see really extensive discussions about what causes diabetes and how to cure it. It's very, very easy. You know, when I was at, just let me get to back to something. When I was at that triplet talk yesterday, I got done and I got questions from the doctors, and most of them were very, very supportive. And I got one, and I'm not sure whether it was supportive or not supportive. And what the man said to me, he was obviously a physician. He said to me, he said, well, you can get the same results with bariatric surgery. I said, yeah, you're right, you can. You can cure type 2 diabetes with bariatric surgery, but that's not normal. It's not natural to cause people malabsorption. I said, you can get the same results with starvation too, but that's not normal or natural. You ought to be looking for the cure of obesity and diabetes, which you can do with bariatric surgery. You ought to be looking for the cure by fixing the cause, which is the food. And that's what I told the man. And I think he had a very favorable response. But think about somebody saying that to me. You can get the same results on the McDougall diet. I showed him all that stuff. Nobody doubted that we could cure inflammatory arthritis or diabetes. But he said to me, you can get the same results by doing bariatric surgery.
Well, the shortcut culture, we can do it faster and still keep eating all the junk food we want.
Well, unfortunately, that's all that's being offered now, but that may change.
Right. Dr. McDougall, would you just mention, I think that there's something very important on your website, the search feature that you have, because a lot of the people in this webinar will not be able to get their questions answered, but most likely their question has been answered by you. Can you explain a little bit how that works? It's free.
Yeah, that's the thing that shocks people when they go to the website. You can't go to Quiet with us for free. Right.
But
basically everything is free. Mary has about 500 recipes up there.
Amazing, yes.
All the discussions. Well, there are two ways to find the information quickly that you want. One is to go to education, and you find something called Hot Topics. And under Hot Topics, you'll see arthritis, diabetes, multiple sclerosis, and so on. And it's categorized. You can read, 3, 15, 20 articles I've written over the last, since 2002, I've been putting articles up every month. That's one way to find it. The other way is to go to the search feature and enter something like type 2 diabetes or rheumatoid arthritis or multiple sclerosis. And the search feature is phenomenal. You have to go through the Google ads, the first 2 or 3, and then you get to the articles that I've written.
Yes, it's amazing.
And you can also go to the discussion board. There are so many helpful people on the discussion board. You join the discussion board, and there are people who've been with us for, 10, 20, 30 years, and you ask them the question, and they'll give you there are people who know my website better than I do. So your questions can easily be answered.
Right.
And what you do is you can copy the articles, and you can take them to your dietitian or your doctor or your mother-in-law or anybody who doubts and say, read this, read what Dr. McDougall had to say about this. Is this true? And if it's not true, tell me why not. And here's the scientific references that I now link. I used to reference them by numbers. Here's the scientific references he cites. Why is this not true? And you have your point of view. Tell me why I should. Anyway,
yes. Well, the forum, I think, is what you mentioned is one of the best things to join. Just join the forum. You will get your questions answered there.
And it's all free. You won't believe it. And then you say, no, nobody does anything for free. That's what you say. Well, you're right in part. Mary and I must make a living. We must support the children and the grandchildren. But we feel good. I mean, we feel real good about what we do. The reason initially that it was free is because we couldn't get anybody to buy it. And that's not entirely true. But the other thing is that Mary and I were given this great gift. Mary's, you just saw Mary, she's 69, I'm 68. I was almost dead in my 20s.
Right.
And thanks to my Hawaii, and many of you know this story, we were given the gift to understand what people are supposed to eat. And as a result, we've enjoyed excellent health for the last 44 years. And because we were given that great gift, we feel it's very easy and important for us to share with anybody who will listen this same knowledge. And you know, once people get it, you know, once people see it, like the head of sales we spent with in Kauai the last few days, he's a Filipino man. Excuse me. I was telling him about the boy that we were just talking about, who was so fat that his abdominal fat hung out over his veins, over his genitals. And I was telling him about that little boy, and we were talking about the Filipinos and how I learned most of this from my Filipino patients. And he says, you know, he says, right now, he says, I can understand why my grandpa's so healthy. He said, you know, when I was a little kid, the sales manager is telling me, he says, I was that fat little boy. He says, at 12 years old, I was over 200 pounds. And the lights went on for this man, the head of sales. And I could tell, that his whole life will be different. Once people see this, they see why they're sick, you know, what the food poisons are. And I refer you to my color picture book, and how simple it is to get well, and how cheap, and how it always works. And then they do it.
Right. Yeah, when the light goes on here, it's a interesting moment.
It is. All of a sudden, everything makes sense. Even medical doctors, you know, they're all confused about why their patients don't get well, what they're doing. And once they see this, you go, oh, I understand. I understand it all. That happened to me. Well, it happened to me in the 70s that I could see this.
Right.
And,
well.
Many of our webinar listeners, they're going there. I know they're shaking their heads and they're going, yes, you know, I was once blind, and now I can see. And it's just a very simple concept. You can learn it in 30 seconds, and you can go through the color picture book, which is free on the website in 22 languages. You send any of your friends and relatives through that color picture book.
Yes.
It takes 6, 7, 10 minutes to go through it. And they'll go, oh, I could see.
Right. I'm free. Well, okay, Dr. McDougall, here's another question. I've noticed that since I've been following the starch way of eating, that I am losing more hair than usual. Is that normal, or am I lacking something in my system?
You're getting old. No, I you know, as I have to refer back to, I've been doing this with thousands of people over the years, and I hear that occasionally. People will say that they're losing more hair, and of course, particularly women will say that they're losing hair. I can say your hair will become more dry, less greasy. But hair loss is not a consequence of the diet. There's no such thing as protein deficiency. But people do lose hair, particularly women. They lose it when they go through changes in their reproductive life. Like when they go through menarche, they start to sexually mature. They grow more hair, and when they get pregnant, they'll sometimes lose hair. They'll start nursing. Hair growth will change. They stop nursing. They go through menopause. There are hair changes. But it's not like they're losing hair and going bald. Just hair starts coming out more. And it's part of, it has to do with reproductive cycle. But I got to tell you one more thing, Gustavo. I know you get me started, and I have to, I don't know when to stop. But I go get my haircut. It's time for me to get my haircut again. But I go to see the same person I have for the last 20 or so years. And once in a while we talk about people's hair. And I made her aware of this over 20 years ago. And I said, you know, you take care of people, and some people have very greasy hair and greasy face. I said, and I would ask her, and of course I ask you, where do you think that grease comes from? Where does that oil come from? So when you go on a low-fat diet, like we teach, the greasiness of the face goes away and the greasiness of the hair goes away. But this is good, not bad. You don't want to be greasy. Greasy is not a good look.
No, it is not. And I can tell you that I used to have very oily hair and skin, and now after 3 years, it's completely gone. Well, and I'm not losing hair, not yet.
I'm losing hair, but I'm almost 70 years old.
Okay. Well, Dr. McDougall, here's a question that someone is asking that says, can this diet help women with PCOS?
Yes, it can. Any weight loss, polycystic ovary syndrome, which is where it's associated with obesity. And you get hormone changes and infertility and acne, and it's a consequence of the diet and the fatness that follows. And any way you lose weight and you have your stomach rearranged with staples or banded or any kind of bariatric surgery, or you have your teeth wired together, any way you lose weight, polycystic ovary syndrome will improve or go away. But the best way to do it is to fix the problem, which is the diet, and go on the kind of diet that I teach, and which is a diet, just to repeat, a diet of rice and corn and potatoes and bread and so on. And you go on that kind of diet and you lose the weight, you change your sex hormones. It does all the positive things that you want done. And you should be sitting there, if this is new to you, sitting there, how can one diet do so much? Well, why wouldn't it? You know, why wouldn't the right diet fix the problems that are wrong, which are so many things: greasy hair, bad body odor, obesity, constipation, breast cancer, gastric distress. Why wouldn't, I mean, those are caused by the diet. Why wouldn't you expect the diet to fix all these things?
Right, there is just interesting, there is a disconnect in people from what they put in their mouth, and they just think that that somehow disappears. But it's interesting. I think I call it food amnesia. It's just,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, there is a connection between the food and what's happening in the body.
Yeah, food does count. In fact, there's a website called, Dr. McDougall's website, and it says it's the food.
It's the food.
The thing is, see, we're taught as doctors that food doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you eat. And they still basically teach that to medical students, is diet doesn't matter. If it mattered, we'd give you a course on it. Well, we'd make it part of the curriculum. And they don't. And they verbally, right up front, the mentors, the teachers tell the students, diet has nothing to do with disease. Or no. Maybe the Mediterranean diet will help you. Or I heard about a good low carb diet. Yeah, diet has so students, they get no education, and the dietitians really don't get the right education. In the meat and dairy industry, they provide all the influence for the medical schools and the dietitians, and it's just business, is what it's business. But
yes. Well, we won't get you started on that because we know where we're going.
I'm on the road for 4 days. You can't get me started.
Okay. Somebody's asking here, in your January 2011 newsletter, you wrote that morning sickness helps lower the risk of miscarriages and there is better survival of the infant. But then it was reported that societies that had very little meat in their diet never experienced morning sickness. I'm confused if we want morning sickness or not, or if we eat more plant-based and have less morning sickness, that is better.
Well, the way I explained it, that was in my pregnancy newsletter, which we did a discussion on last time, is that the pregnant body is trying to protect the infant. And in the early stages of development, one of the reactions that occurs is the woman becomes nauseated and doesn't eat. That's a natural thing in our society. In fact, it's almost universal. But it's not a universal occurrence in societies that eat a healthy diet, starch-based diets, like in Asian cultures, etc. So morning sickness is a protective mechanism that is particularly invoked when you eat meat and dairy and things like that. And women who get morning sickness, when they are able to eat, it's been my experience, they eat things like simple fruits or rice or maybe some potatoes. They naturally go to that. I don't really understand the whole question, but I think the question that families have is when they develop morning sickness and the mother gets so sick, is they wonder whether or not that's an adverse sign as far as the outcome of the baby. They wonder whether or not this is going to a sign that they're going to have a bad baby or lose the baby. The answer is it is not. It is just a reaction that the body takes to help protect the infant, and it does a good job, or the unborn baby. It does a good job. But morning sickness is not associated with a worse outcome. But you get morning sickness for a reason, and that's a protective mechanism.
All right, very good. How about this? Most of the grains are acid. How can this diet help a person whose body fights an infection?
Well, that doesn't in any way tie together with me, but I'll answer the first part. Well, I'll answer the second part. I mean, you fight an infection when you're healthy. People who eat the Western diet, they I told you half of them are pre-diabetic. When you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, you can't fight infections as well. I mean, you get yeast infections and bacterial infections, all kinds of things. So you eat a healthy diet. Now, let's go on to the grain issue, but grains being acid. If you read my materials, you go to, say, Hot Topics and look at an article called Protein Overload, which is under the Hot Topics under meat and protein. You'll see something there called the relative renal acid load. It's called the renal acid load, and it gives you the acid load that's provided by different foods. Cheese, for example, has a renal acid load of 10. Fish, 9. Beef is about 8. Grains are 1. Legumes are 1. Potatoes are alkaline, -5. So in terms of acid load, cheese is 10 times more acidic than our grains or legumes. This is a tiny acid load compared to what the average person is exposed to. And this acid is serious business. When you eat these heavy acid loads, which you eat when you eat animal proteins, which are full of amino acids and sulfur-containing amino acids, you're taking this huge acid load, and the consequence is the body has to neutralize this acid. And the primary neutralizing step that takes place, the first step is the bones dissolve and release alkaline material. And then this acid causes all kinds of ill effects through the body. You may have heard that you want to eat an alkaline diet. Well, you know, that the minestrone soup that we serve at the program, it has some beans and some grains in it, but also it has alkaline spinach and alkaline tomatoes and alkaline potatoes. The McDougall diet is an alkaline diet. It has a pH of above 7, I will tell you. The pH of the body is 7.4. And when you eat animal foods, you drive that pH down, and the body tries to respond because it won't let the pH change. But it goes through all kinds of adaptations.
Right. Okay. Very good. Dr. McDougall, a couple of questions about caffeine, coffee. My cancer is currently stable without conventional treatment. I have been taking a small amount of caffeine, 50 milligrams or less, daily to try to counter drowsiness caused by prescription medication. Can that amount of caffeine be expected to cause adverse effects?
I don't think caffeine is well, it's not health food, you know. And I thought the question was go to coffee. You know, the caffeine is a stimulant. If it comes in a pill, it's a stimulant. If it comes in coffee, it's a stimulant. That's why people consume it. But as far as it adversely affecting cancer, I can't imagine it would. It'd make you jittery. You give you shaky hands. It'll keep you awake, disturb your sleep. But as far as it having an overall adverse impact on heart disease or cancer or so on, no, I can't really think of any reason that it would. But again, you know, it's as this person is describing, it's a medication. As most people consume it, it's a drug bought at Starbucks.
All right, very good, thank you. So here's another one where it says people lowering cholesterol by 50 points or more following an Atkins-style diet. How can this happen if they're eating a diet so high in cholesterol and saturated fats?
They get sick. That's the way the Atkins diet works. Or any low-carb diet, any ketose-producing diet like Wheat Belly or Grain Brain. These are ketosis-producing diets. You go into ketosis, which is a state that occurs when you get ill or you starve. Your body produces ketones, and you lose your appetite. And so when you lose your appetite, you stop eating. And that's how these low-carb diets work in the long run, is they make you feel sick and nauseated, so you don't eat. Initially, the way they work is that when you go on a no-carb diet, you burn your glycogen stores, which is your carbohydrate stores, and you'll lose about 2 pounds of glycogen, which is associated with 4 more pounds of water. So you lose 6-8 pounds the first week or 5 days or whatever. And so you're really excited on these low carb diets. And then what happens is you become quickly nauseated by being in ketosis. And when you don't eat, then what happens is your cholesterol goes down, your blood sugar goes down, all kinds of things go down. But I'll tell you some other ways you can cause this to happen is you can wire people's teeth together. You can put them on cancer chemotherapy. I mean, if you put people on cancer chemotherapy, their cholesterol goes down and their blood sugar goes down and they lose weight. You can do prefrontal lobotomies on them so they lose their appetite, and all those things will happen too. Their cholesterol will go down. I'm joking. And one last joke is general surgeons can cut both your legs off so you can't get to the refrigerator, and your cholesterol will go down because you can't eat. But the right way to get your cholesterol to go down is to eat a starch-based diet. Our average drop in cholesterols, we published this, is 23 points in 7 days, eating as much food as you want. And you can also take statin drugs, which I do prescribe on occasion, but not too often.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Stephen, 55 years old, is stuck at 10 pounds from target weight, tried the maximum weight loss with limited results. What would you suggest?
This is a good question to end on. I would say you need to kind of look at what you're doing and see if you're really being as strict as you say you are. There's so many people say that they're doing something, they're doing the diet 100%. And people tell me that. They're just like Stephen, there are many people who have sat across from me for the last almost 40 years, and they've said, I follow your diet perfectly and I can't lose weight. And I don't say to them, well, I don't think you're telling the truth. I may think that, but I don't say it. I may say to them, look, I was around in the 1960s when we had the Vietnam conflict, and I used to look at pictures on the news of people from Vietnam and Cambodia, and I saw no fat people, nobody. So if several 100,000 people can all be thin, why is it that it doesn't work for you? Well, I might say that to them, but I won't be more unkind than that. And what I'll ask them is I'll ask them to, think about it. How often do you eat out? And I know they put oil in your food. And how often do you eat nuts, seeds, and avocados? It's just the laws of thermodynamics are so sound. And eating this kind of diet is so basic to what the human being is supposed to eat. It is so unusual for me to see. People, did you see my picture in the waves a couple of days ago? Or a few minutes ago?
Right.
And Mary's picture. We eat a lot of food. And everybody, if you come to our clinic, and you've been there, Gustavo, and you'll see our staff, everybody looks the same. Jeff Novick, Doug Lyle, Alec Isabeau,
right,
Joel Newsom. Everybody looks the same. And so it seems to be working for us.
Right.
I'd ask Steve to kind of reevaluate what he's doing and see if there's maybe some area where he can more simplify his eating and maybe avoid particularly the oils, the fats and oils. It'll work for you.
And next week on Thursday, the webinar that you're doing is on treating obesity with a starch-based diet. Maybe you can expand a little more.
We can talk about that.
I will. I'm putting right now for everybody to see the link so that everybody can go ahead and register for next week's webinar. And thank you again, Dr. McDougall.
I hope I gave a good presentation. Like I say, I gave 3 talks in Hawaii over the last 3 days, and I may appear a little bit tired, but
I'm amazed at how good you look and what you did today, answering the questions. Thank you.
That's what you get with a webinar, is you get live and real. And I'm glad to be back in California. I hope some of you can join us in Kauai for that vacation. Or we have, let's see, we have another program coming up in December, a 10-day program. I'm just thinking about what we've done over the last month. We've run 3 programs and an advanced study weekend over the last month. So yeah, I'm tired. I think I'm going to rest for a little bit, and thank you for joining us in this seminar.
Well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next. We will see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Well, thanks for the great job you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.